Hey there guys, how's it going? So, coming up soon, there's going to be a very interesting crossroads fight in the heavyweight division that I think that based on styles is going to be an extremely entertaining war. In fact, I think that this fight could be a shootout as long as it lasts, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's just that kind of fight. Former long-time cruiserweight champion Marco Huck is going to be fighting in the heavyweight division for the first time since 2012 when he took on Alexander Povetkin for the WBA heavyweight title and lost a very close, controversial majority decision, which the majority of people watching, including myself, felt that he did enough to win, but he was unlucky to get the decision. This is going to be the first time he's fighting at heavyweight since then, and he's at a stage of his career right now where he is coming off two of the worst defeats in his entire career. As you guys know, he was dominated by Myris Bridis, dominated over the distance. He was also stopped last year devastatingly by Alexander Usyk. He got an absolute beating in that fight from start to finish. He got schooled, he got outboxed, he got dominated, he got beat up, and ultimately he got stopped in the 10th round. So clearly he's at a stage of his career now where he's in desperate need of a win. If he doesn't win this fight, it's over for him. Okay, his time as a contender is done, and clearly he knows that he can't compete in the cruiserweight division anymore. The fighters there are just too good for him, and now that he's past his prime, he's going to try his luck in the much weaker and much easier to compete in heavyweight division, because as you guys know, I don't really rate a lot of the top guys at heavyweight right now. I think the division's a little bit stale. And I think Marco Huck agrees with me, which is why he's moved up to heavyweight to try and compete for a title there. So, how does this fight go, this Yakup Saglam fight? Now, Yakup Saglam, for those of you who don't know who he is, he's a 41-year-old Turkish heavyweight based in Germany. Now, he has a winning record, which is important because if you're going to get yourself back in the mix like Marco Huck's trying to do, you're going to need to get an opponent who at least has a winning record. He has a record of, I believe it's 41 fights, 4 defeats, and 37 knockouts. Now, having 37 knockouts out of 41 victories tells you everything you need to know. The guy's obviously a puncher. With a knockout percentage like that, you know that this is a guy that can hit. And as far as the guys that he's lost to, now I haven't had a look at his record recently, but just going by memory, I'm pretty sure he lost to Joseph Parker a couple of years ago. He was stopped in a couple of rounds, I think, by Joseph Parker. I know that he was stopped by Manuel Char. That was a while ago now. He was stopped by Manuel Char. He also was stopped by Odlanier Solis, the Cuban heavyweight contender. And he was also beaten on points by an unbeaten German heavyweight contender who's still undefeated. That was, I believe, his first or second defeat. So, yeah, he's he has lost when he's tried to step up. He's that kind of fighter that he's done very well at a low level. When he fights journeyman, when he fights domestically, he genuinely gets the knockout. However, when he's stepped up and tried to, compete against some fellow contenders, guys like Char and guys like Solis and whatnot, he tends to lose and he tends to get stopped. However, he's at a stage of his career now where he's racked up quite a lot of momentum, and that's one of the advantages he's going to have in this fight, because Marco Huck is coming off 2 defeats, 2 very one-sided defeats, and he's going to be moving up in weight for the first time in a while, whereas this guy, Yakup Saglam, has been operating at heavyweight for a long time. So, he's coming off a string of knockout defeats. He's got the momentum on his side. He's going to have nothing to lose here. This is an opportunity for him to get himself a very credible victory against a former long-time world champion. So this is going to be a really interesting opportunity for him, because he certainly has the power to pull this one off. And it's a very dangerous fight for Marco Huck. I got to be honest, this is going to be a serious test. And I actually think, although I am favouring Marco Huck for the win, because I'll talk about that in a bit, the advantages that I think he has, I think it's a very intriguing, because we don't know how Marco Huck's going to look. That's the thing, because right now in my mind, when I'm thinking about what to say, I'm thinking about that Alexander Usyk fight and that Myris Bridis fight, and just how how dejected and how lethargic Marco Huck looked in those fights. You could really see the wear and tear. You could really see that he was past his prime. You could see that he didn't have the reflexes or the stamina that he used to have when he was younger. He used to have great stamina, Marco Huck. If you look at his fights against Ola Afolabi, or his fight against Povetkin, or his fight against all them other guys he fought, like his fight against Lebedev, Ramirez, all those older Marco Huck fights, he was always able to duke out a really, really hard-fought, fast-paced 12-round fight. He was always able to maintain that pace, and his fights were rugged, they were rough, they weren't pretty, they were really, really, rough. Always in these wars, and always taking shots to land shots, and always really pushing the pace of these fights, and setting a really fast pace. And he always looked to me like he could always pull off a victory at any moment. He was that type of fighter. He would get a second wind and he would really push through and grind out a victory. And in his recent fights, he hasn't looked like that. I mean, he's looked very, very dejected. Let's not forget he was also knocked out by Krzysztof Glowacki. He lost his WBO title to Krzysztof Glowacki in America, and that was a fight that I think took a lot out of him because it went a lot of rounds. It ended in the 11th, and he was actually ahead on the cards, I believe, and he scored a knockdown, but it was a very close, gritty, competitive, back-and-forth war, and he ended up getting brutally knocked out. So Marco Huck, he's been knocked out, he's been outboxed, he's been beaten up, he's had the fight knocked out of him at times, and I just think that at this stage of his career, it's going to be difficult for him to rebuild, and it's this type of fight that's going to show us whether or not he still has enough left to be in the mix. Because if he goes in there and is able to blow away a fighter like Saglam, I think it's going to be not a big statement, because obviously this guy isn't an elite fighter or anything, and he's been stopped a few times before. But it's going to show us that at least Huck has something left. And you never know, moving up to heavyweight, maybe Marco Huck might be a little bit more energetic, because when he did fight Povetkin at heavyweight, that was the best he'd ever looked. I think he looked to have more strength, more physical strength anyway, more stamina, and he just looked more durable and a lot tougher and stronger and more healthy and well put together, well built in that fight than he'd ever looked before. At cruiserweight, I take it he was probably having to cut a lot of weight, and that might have caused him some issues, but at heavyweight he actually did look very good. But the thing is, he was fighting a small heavyweight in Povetkin. Povetkin's one of these shorter past era type heavyweights, whereas if you were to put Marco Huck in the ring against the likes of Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder, these guys are going to tower over him. They're going to be so much physically stronger, so much more powerful, to the point where I can't really see Huck being able to put a dent in them, to be honest. I mean, even if he were to fight someone like Kubrat Pulev, who I'm sure, that is a fight that is possible, because Kubrat Pulev is with the Sauerlands, who used to promote Marco Huck and still do business with him, like with the or the World Boxing Super Series. They did business with Huck there. He wasn't their fighter, but obviously they were able to negotiate and whatnot. So that would be an easy fight to put together in Germany, a Marco Huck Kubrat Pulev fight. And if that fight were to happen, and Huck would have to go through somebody like that to get a title shot, I couldn't see him winning. Pulev's just too big for him, too good at jab. He would just outbox him on the outside. If he were to fight, I'm trying to think of some more big heavyweights. Like if he were to fight someone like Otto Wallin, if he were to fight maybe even David Price, maybe even the likes of Alexander Ustinov. These are the type of fighters he will eventually have to go through at some point to get a title shot. And I couldn't see him. I just can't see him beating these big heavyweights. I can't see it, but I mean, we'll wait and see how he looks in this fight, because it's a very dangerous fight. He's got a very big punching opponent. It's a dangerous fight, this one, and I'm just really looking forward to it. Should I even call this a prediction? I do think Huck will win the fight. I do. I think that he has the better athleticism, the better boxing skill. He certainly has the better chin. He hasn't competed at a much higher level, although not so much a heavyweight. But I mean, he did go the distance with Povetkin. I mean, I couldn't see Yakup going the distance with Povetkin. I couldn't see that happening. So I would probably go with Huck. If he's anything near what he used to be, like if this is 60-50% of the Huck that faced Alexander Povetkin, he should win this fight probably by a late stoppage. I could see him having a few problems early on. I mean, Yakup certainly has a puncher's chance. But I'm going with Marco Huck to win by a late stoppage. I think he should break the guy down. Huck is the younger man, although he does have more miles on the clock, based on how many tough fights he's taken. You know, the thing with Yakup is he's not really fought great opposition in most of the fights he's won. I mean, he's fought mostly journeymen, so he hasn't had the hard, grueling contests that Marco Huck has had. Marco Huck has fought great competition. Okay, that guy fought consistent elite fighters when he was cruiserweight champion. Like I said, he fought guys like Steve Cunningham, which was a hard, grueling fight that made it into the 12th round, where both guys took a lot of shots, a lot of punishment. He was ultimately stopped in that fight. Like I said, he was knocked out by Glavatsky in a very hard 12-round fight. He was beaten up by Maris Bridis, very hard 12-round fight. He had a very close, hard 12-round fight with Victor Ramirez, very hard 12-round fight with Denis Lebedev. He had 4 back and forth fights with Ola Afolabi. He won all of those fights, except he was, in my opinion, robbed in the second fight where they gave him a draw. I thought Marco Huck won that fight clearly. I don't know what they gave him a draw for. I mean, the fight was in Huck's backyard and he still never got the win. And I thought he won that fight comfortably, to be honest. But the point is, it was a back and forth, fairly competitive fight where both guys were landing shots like all of Huck's fights are. You can land shots on the guy. That's not an issue. The issue with Huck is, can you outfight him? Can you deal with his pressure and his offense? Because the guy's a very, very offensive fighter. He gets very wound up in the ring and, loads up on his shots, and he likes to drag you into a fight. He's a little bit dirty at times. He'll hit you behind the head and stuff like that. He doesn't give a fuck. The guy's a street fighter in a boxing ring, so it depends to me. The outcome of this one depends on whether or not Saglam can land a punch, because the guy's obviously got a lot of power. The guy's a seasoned heavyweight, and he has very heavy hands. Or can Marco Huck, with his superior athleticism and his experience at a higher level, can he break him down? I could see that happening. So I'm going to go with Marco Huck by a late stoppage. And I look forward to seeing him in some other heavyweight fights, maybe against another former cruiserweight champion in Thomas Adamek, who's still around, who I believe is fighting soon. I would really like to see that fight, Thomas Adamek against Marco Huck. That'd be a great fight. So let me know what you guys think anyway, and thanks for watching.